Welcome to the 287th Julian Assange Sydney Town Hall gathering. We often like to think that our world is more just and fair than it actually is. This leads us to underestimate how deeply and fundamentally corrupt our systems of governance are. When we see whistleblowers and others being persecuted, there is a tendency for us to believe that the victim of the persecution must have done something wrong or must be deeply misguided or extremely foolish. There is a pervasive tendency to discount the idea that those who reveal important truth are persecuted for the purpose of suppressing the truth and the wrongdoing of the people who instigate and enable the persecution. There is a tendency for us to think that everyone is governed by a shared propensity to contribute positively to society. However, we must consider that there are people in this world who are capable of all sorts of crimes against us. These are people who are willing to lie, cheat, and steal. These are people who are willing to murder, torture, and inflict great harm. These are people who are not constrained by normal emotions, morals, or ethics. Many criminals are not sophisticated enough to evade the legal consequences of their actions. But some, a significant proportion, are. There are higher functioning individuals who are able to rise to positions of great power within the hierarchies of our systems of governance. And these know how to use the law to make themselves immune to prosecution. Our systems of governance include the political parties, the justice system, the government bureaucracies, and large corporations. It is important for us to stop viewing the world through rose-coloured glasses. We need to think more deeply about the reasons our systems of governance act in the ways they do. We need to consider that it may be wise for us to engage in actions that can resist oppression. We need to realise that neither our politicians nor our media are motivated to tell us the truth about how our world works, or to guide us in making decisions that improve our chances of gaining greater levels of freedom, peace, and justice. We are all empowered through knowing the truth. We must stop allowing criminals to continue suppressing the truth. The truth about how this world really works needs to be available to everyone. In the end, it is up to each of us to help spread important public interest truth. If you think that this makes sense, please join us here at Sydney Town Hall every Friday during winter from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. During the summer, we move an hour forward from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. But during the winter months, we will continue at 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. every Friday here on Town Hall steps. Please come and join us. Thank you. Let us all make it impossible for criminals with power to suppress the important truth of how this world really works. The Assange movement continues. Free, free, free the truth. Free, free, free the truth. Free, free, free the truth. Thank you.
So, tell me around born slaves. In every birth there are more graves. Outside of a PlayStation there's more games. End up X in a box, there's still more pain. They don't lessen the cost, can't give you more pay. Keep you happy enough so you don't complain, but not happy enough to see it on your face. And the same thing that we call days, did you catch that? Maybe not, maybe you're stuck in one. Like, do you really think they got love for us? Placed in the system, we just numbers, cars facing a prison. Better toughen up, acting like men need to toughen up. Until you're number, they're just hanging up. And yeah, some cunts need to toughen up, but never think that your pain is nothing, bros. Yeah, the system ain't just jail, we're stuck in cells. Yeah, the system's what we live in, it's a fucking hell. You can try run, but they run it well. Just gotta hold it down and tell them to go fuck themselves. The system ain't just jail, we're stuck in cells. Yeah, the system's what we live in, it's a fucking hell. You can try run, but they run it well. Just gotta hold it down and tell them to go fuck themselves. Should I believe in God? Like, does God believe in me, man? I don't fucking know. I know these snacks are plotting secretly. Like, trust me, it ain't what you see on your TV screen. Corporate devil shit, nothing's what it seems to be. Where do we go? We're stuck in this world, trying to keep an open mind. Can't be stuck in a shell on a way to the grave. Yeah, we dug them ourselves. Yeah, we don't need no fucking flag to say there's love in this world. Like, wanna cancel me, go ahead. I don't want the fame and all the hoes in bed. I'm overstressing death and wondering who's going next. All the competition trying to boast who's flowing best. I ain't saying that it's mine, I ain't saying that it's yours. I'm just staying on my grind. Like, I'm done wasting all my time. I'm just praying to the Lord, I hope he answers it in time. Like shit like that.
Woo! Yay!
Yeah!
Yeah.
Hi there. So, of course, when it rains here, like it did last week, and again as it's raining today, we blame the Sydney Harbour sea monster for the rain, because all the Sydney Harbour sea monster has to do is sneeze, and it all rains. And last week it gave me a terrible cold last Friday night. I haven't gotten over it yet, that's why I sound really nasally today. I apologise, I won't talk for long, but I want to say I blame the Sydney Harbour sea monster for this awful cold I've had all week. Now up here we can see the State Street building, you can see the big sort of blue light in the window up here. That is the Sydney Harbour sea monster's tank. Okay, so the blue light up on the building, up the top there, that's its tank. It's up there with Harold Holt. You know, Harold Holt has been advising the sea monster on the election, and that's why the sea monster didn't get a seat. We said that last week, but yeah, I blame the Sydney Harbour sea monster for the fact that I have no voice to talk with tonight, and I apologise for disturbing you with that. It is raining on us again. It's absolutely horrid, awful, but anyhow, thank you.
But really,
Have a lift. Yeah. Sort of powerful.
about whistleblower.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of petitions on other
some reading material. On the election in general, apart from the healthcare complaint, you've got plenty of other bureaucracies, and like the Energy and Water Ombudsman of New South Wales. That's also got to go because they've got an agreement with the retailers, as I was here before, that $5,000 compensation for the smart meter they received. You go to the E1 and they put you back to the complaints at the retailers. Go back to the retailer, their complaints handling process. So why? Because they've got an agreement with them. That's the same with the health. It's like the Healthcare Complaints Commission is some sort. It's like a union. If as long as the doctor, the specialist, the optician, the person who's doing optical and whatever, they're following the procedures, even though that might do you harm by not, getting the surgery that you need or whatever, getting the proper treatment that you need. As long as they're following the procedures, it's fine. They'll leave it. They go, go take them to court. It's your. And this is ingrained in the bigger situation where I'm the type where those. We've just had the end of the election. I loved having a chat with those guys who were handing out the how-to vote, Liberal, Labor. I found that the Liberals are the most honest because why are they there? Their will, their brains, or their heart. The Liberals will say, we're here because we hope and believe that Liberal government will help Australia fix all the ills and whatever that we have currently. Whereas the Labor will say, no, we're in our brains. We're saying that they're saying we're using our brains we believe in the party, both in our willpower and our heart and in our brains. That the brains is they use the example that you had when Julian was doing those podcasts in the Ecuadorian embassy. The second one was about Horowitz, and he was a conservative who went up against Slavoj Zizek. And like the Labor how-to, Horowitz was saying, whether you're left or whether you're independent or left or what have you, we're all corrupt. We're all corrupt because we desire greed. And the Labor was saying, and they knew they knew that the Liberals weren't in it. They were more or less against the independents, especially in the Senate, but not in my seat. Labor, the bloke in the House of Reps romped in, no problem, 60+%. But they believed even if it was a House full of independents, they're still going to be as corrupt as whether it be Labor, but you vote for a Labor or a political party because they have better checks and balances. On the flip side, I said, well, you can easily, as a party, you can easily cover up when you're talking about corruption, you can easily cover it up, no problem. But they were wholeheartedly saying, by being part of a party, i.e. their Labor Party, we've got the checks and balances, we've been around for 110 plus years, that's why it should continue. That's what's made Australia great. I'm saying the pivotal moment that any citizen should look at if they're going to vote is that moment when you had Tony Windsor, Oakeshott and Caddo split away and say, no, I'm not going to take the deal. I wanted Tony Abbott to make a deal with Tony Abbott. But the deal that they made with Gillard shouldn't be reliant on them going to Gillard and then Gillard giving them a dossier to say, this is what your area needs. This is the construction and the welfare and what have you. If it was a Parliament of Independence, that dossier should be available. She got that from Treasury. An independent should just go straight to Treasury, get that document for their area, look at that document, then go back to their area, and then look and then have a community type of cabinet or a community discussion, pamphlet the area as much as they can, whether all, if not half or whatever. As long as everybody on social media or in their letterbox gets it, this is what Treasury is saying we can have in the budget. This is what we can push for. That's never been that should be the case. It's never been the case. Labor, the how-to that we're handing out, and you can also include any of the other parties. None of specifically the Labor ones, there were two of them who are lifers, i.e. life members, 50 years plus in their party. They've never had a candidate in the federal or the state elections come to their branch meeting and then give them to say, rightio, I've just won the term. What do we need to do? What do we need? What should I push? What they've been given is a piece of the person in charge of the branch comes out with a piece of paper and says, this is what the margin, this is the agenda, basically a bullet line what the media get in Canberra, they get at the branch meeting. They've never seen or heard of directly from the person who's won the election. State, federal, but they occasionally get the local mums who have gotten onto the local council, but never so why do they stay on? It's the 50 years It's the fringe benefits. Fringe benefits. Cheers, mate. Keep it on. Keep on it. It's the fringe benefits. Okay, Brisbane Olympics coming up. Stay a member, pay your $100, $200, $300 plus membership. You don't have to because you're a life member, but keep on it. Keep on being part of it, and we'll make sure if you live up to the Brisbane Olympics, you might be a torchbearer. There will be a leg for you, torchbearer. Or there's a party going on or some sort of a function. They get in. That's the fringe benefits. But a lot of them have tried. They haven't been okayed by the Sussex Strict as it was before when they were on. They've tried to get in and get into the political game, but they weren't. The ones that were there never got up because they weren't okayed by head office. Or in that case, for them it was Mark Bib. They did that. They got knocked over, and then they were more or less cancelled from the party from ever getting into a position. Really, for them it was they didn't even get a local. State or federal, any of these positions getting into the process to becoming the ALP candidate. They've stayed on because the fringe benefits, a convention comes up or a party or some sort of event comes up like the Olympics, and they get in.
Well, they're the ones that did stay on. There's others that
they're the ones that stayed on. And that's...
So, what does that mean for their intelligence?
They're not using their brains.
That's right.
Because they're in for the self-interest, that greed.
Yeah.
I'm saying yes.
So, do they ever discuss policies or anything?
Nothing. It's all, yes, they do, but it goes nowhere beyond the actual branch meeting.
Uh-huh.
Because none of the people who matter go in. None of the elected members come in. They just get the person running, the head of the branch just reads a piece of paper out, who forwarded on by the state member or the federal member. That's it. Accept that and continue on. Rank and file. This is rank and file mentality drilled in from basically the same routine that a continuation of the routine that you get from preschool, primary school, high school, university, job. Why do? Well, because they've got nothing else to do. That's why they put more as continue, and they're happy with the fringe benefits, whatever that may be.
Bearing a flag at the Olympics.
Torch, the whole torch bearer.
Torch, sorry.
Yeah. They keep the torch as well.
Yeah, well,
so that's what my sum up of the election. It's like we need a body, all of Parliament to be independent, and then get access to Treasury to get those dossiers on each of their regions. Then the independents, I hope, then go back to their communities, have a community cabinet or some sort of a thing where the community can rock up. They get told that this is what Treasury have for us, like that dossier that Gillard gave to Oakeshott and Windsor. And then the community says yes or no. Yes, there could be corruption. It's a 3-year cycle. If that doesn't happen, or there's,
is this the nature,
see you later.
Is this the nature
next
of
independent?
The nature of people, though, generally,
Yeah.
because when we come here, so like I write a speech, but we don't really discuss much about what we want.
And that was the worrying aspect that I wanted to say back when I was here last time, but we had the whole police skirmish, there was the incident. Tony has on numerous occasions says this compartmentalisation of people that are going past. They're in their routines and they don't really have anything other than what they know of their routines. Wake up, eat, work, sleep, and again. My worry in that the second individual that I met, before that it was an Indigenous individual who went past and said, I'm not going to stop because neither you, what you're saying and what you're showing affects myself, i.e. my name, or my Indigenous community. So what has Julian done for the Indigenous in Australia? Has he said anything or done anything, revealed anything to uplift my mob? And I heard the same thing from an LGBTQI at Fair Day. He was saying, what has Julian done for gay people or lesbians or anything like that?
Yeah.
How compartmentalised can you be
this problem
to think
that like we're standing up for 5 whistleblowers. But it's not the reason I'm here. I mean, I agree with standing up for them, but it's because we are not running the country is why I'm here. There's some, I don't know, people don't see that. All they see is we can make a lot of noise about somebody being in prison, say they're bad, the politicians are bad that he's in prison, and that's as far as it gets. And there's no growth in this. Like I would like to see growth here, and we're going backwards. If we talk about other things than those people, that's also like when we haven't got a focus. But I think truth is should be the focus, but it's not sexy for some reason. Why isn't it sexy? I would have said truth. Everybody wants to think that they know the truth, which is what I put in my speech tonight. But they think they know the truth.
Everyone's got their own truth.
And they don't want to think that they don't know the truth. It's upsetting to think that there's other people saying, hey, you don't know the truth. So we're stuffed in that.
So it's the test. It's then getting information and then being able to test it. This person has said this to me, this has happened to me, I've put it to the test and I found through my own experience that is true. Whereas now they just look at they compartmentalize and saying if they're not mentioning my name, and then secondly what my skin color is, and then secondly what my culture is, and then where I live, then I don't care. I'm just going to keep walking on and continuing with my routine. But the reality so here we are, the mass media consider us as leftists. The other blokes who are the MAGA, your Bannon, they're saying if we don't turn everybody. If everybody in America, all the world, doesn't go 100% capitalist, then we're facing the French Revolution. If we don't do 100% capitalism right now and get rid of all this left woke, or left and whatever they presume they consider us whistleblowers as left, then
I don't know.
French Revolution is on the
cards.
card.
They do like whistleblowers. They like Julian. But they don't like him enough to think that Trump put him in prison and therefore they shouldn't be supporting Trump.
If Trump was fair dinkum, he would have let him out.
And he could have pardoned him.
Yeah.
And there's all this thing...
Which he still can do.
Yeah.
And he won't. Because Trump wants his truth. This whole individual truths, each of these individual boys, we've got our own truths. And what's happening under Trump is he's suspended the American Constitution right now as we speak, is the biggest fraud and corruption that's ever happened in America. That plane wasn't to replace Air Force One, that was for his personal use. Oh. And that's the only one thing that the mass media report on. There's all these other deals that are happening that is just, the biggest flux of money into personal presidential hands that has ever happened in America. That's what's happening now.
Yeah, but then all that stuff, I don't know. It's like setting up the next guy. The next one that comes in it'll be a breath of fresh air. The new guy is coming in, and he will
part the seas.
He can get rid of something that Trump did. Maybe it was, the type of glue that they put on the stamps, on the postage stamps. We're fed up of that glue. And Trump put it on there. No, I mean, it's something ridiculous.
It's the truth of identifying that they're all moving in the one direction.
Look, Trump is going to what? Make healthcare free again.
Nah.
What's that about?
Privatise. There's some sort of privatising. Pay as you go. Like GST.
You can choose what healthcare you have.
But you've got to pay for it.
I know, but But no one
there
ever,
won't be any free.
But no one ever stopped anyone choosing what healthcare they had.
So then Trump invites the companies to get on board, and then he'll give them, but there's a price to pay.
Yeah.
Hip pocket or
I know.
health standards. What I'm worried about with identifying the truth, because right now we've got this a whole bunch of movements saying, and ultimately the World Health Organization, as you know, the demon that a lot of people painted, they ultimately came to the conclusion that the mortality rate for COVID was 2.7%. And that's not me then taking a dig at 2.7%. Okay, if you were 85 and above, your mortality rate would have been 24% according to WHO. 75 to 85, it would have been 16%. 1 to 14, the ages of 1 to 14, 0.001. And then you go, why did we have these harsh lockdowns or whatever when the general one was 2.7% mortality rate? What I'm worried about is the truth.
But you know that no one died of COVID.
No. It's 705 million infected, and according to WHO, 704 million deaths. 700.
They didn't treat people.
700 million infected. Yeah.
They stopped
And
treating
what I'm worried
people
about is
for the common cold, basically.
Yeah. What I'm worried about is when the real pandemic comes, and what's happening in America now, which we saw in Asia about 20 odd years ago when with bird flu or H1N1, that was also known then.
Yeah.
The variant now in America is H5N1, and that's gone from wild birds to domesticated birds to sheep to poultry and cows, and that's spread. Every state has registered it, but the mortality rate for that in the big general one, like the 2.7% for coronavirus, is 56% human infection. And if that jumps to an infection rate like coronavirus, then I would agree with a harsh lockdown, because half your street's going to disappear if they get it.
Anything is possible,
Anything.
but it's all to do with their testing of what, because mostly it's like, yeah, they don't appear to be sick, but they've got it. And therefore we're going to
That's what was coronavirus,
We're going to cull all those chickens in this place. It's all, and I just think this is like, these diseases do not go from one animal to another, like chickens.
That's what coronavirus was. Wet market in China to world pandemic.
No, it's not.
But what you have with H1N1,
that's the lens.
H1N1 has been a elongated process. What you would think, 20 plus years from wild, and it was in wild, and now the way it's been jumping for at least 5 years in America, from wild birds to poultry birds to then sheep, now cows, and then some human infections. That's the worry one, because the mortality rate is 56%.
Anyway, I don't think it's at all possible. If it is an mRNA.
No, that's not an mRNA. No, nothing to do with coronavirus. This is more the H1N1.
Yeah, no, but if
it's a contagious one like mRNA, coronavirus, amount of people that are infected. Yeah. But if you put that mortality rate in, then I'd be very,
if it's a DNA virus, maybe there's something, but I don't think so. I mean, from what I understand,
bird flu.
It just can't. There's no such thing as a pandemic. It can't happen because they don't even know what causes the common cold. They don't know. They've studied it. They've tried to infect people with mucus, and they can't do it. People do get sick, but not everybody gets sick. And if they didn't infect, if you had a control group where they didn't do it, just as many get sick.
Yeah. There's a bloke up Speaker's Corner called Curious Steve. He's on the edge there. He's there more or less every Sunday after between 2 and 5. He has on his board, there's no such thing as viruses. Why? Because we've never isolated a virus. A virus has never been isolated, hence HIV and all this. What is it?
But
He's putting it as made up.
The thing is, they need to prove that it does.
Yeah. So it's never been isolated, so you
So
can't.
we can have the flying spaghetti monster, one report of the flying spaghetti monster, a sighting. Well, it's terrible. We should all lock down. And what have we got? We got somebody saying there is one.
Yeah.
Well, we've got the media saying something. What do they know about bloody viruses? They know nothing.
So we've had the 900-page report from government to say, and at least there's a chapter in it how democracy was diminished during the whole COVID virus. Updates every 9 a.m. then 12 noon, and you saw how the media, the questions that the meeting was putting. If it's a copy, and you can't then trust. I could only trust if my neighbours start falling dead. I call the ambulance, and they said, "Well,
that's right." So all I know is my neighbours all got sick after they had the jab, not prior to that.
Yep. And really, the mortality rate of it was 2.7%. But then what about? And they would say, "Oh, you got to look at long COVID and all the rest of it." But they never. The World Health Organization never looked at what happened, correlation with what the jabs and what have you were. Just on infections, deaths from the infections, but not other causes. What about what other deaths? Now you get that in Wollongong, the Forest of the Fallen, where they put up the people.
I was putting up, but I've recently stopped doing it because it uses up too much of my time.
Yeah. And they, on a couple of occasions, were stopped by the local Wollongong Council putting up because they didn't have a permit to put it up. There in the foreshore, the foreshore park. But then they came back when you had another group was there selling portraits, and they were saying if they don't, they asked them, "Do you have a permit to sell your portraits or to display your portraits?" No, so we're going to set up next to you.
Tony's taking down everything.
The wall.
Oh, it's gone 6.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tony.
We got wraps. We got a wrapper. And that's the other thing. The people handing out how-to. Each of the people that they represent, whether it be Pauline Hanson Party and what have you, those who are handing out the how-to votes, each of those parties, Pauline Hanson, Libertarian, Labor, Liberal, they have a manifesto. How many of those, as I was speaking to them, know that manifesto? The Pauline Hanson One Nation, their manifesto was Pauline Hanson's maiden speech. All the policies flow from that maiden speech. Yet they didn't know that. The Libertarians, theirs was 2022. It's a little book, they had no idea. The Greens don't want to mention theirs because it's Bob Brown and the philosopher. I forget his name. But it was the Green Party book. Oh, Singer. And they don't want to mention that because Singer talks about eugenics. The eugenic side of, and you know, how much is one elephant worth? How many humans, or in terms of dissecting the habitat of an elephant versus the encroaching habitat of humans, what is that elephant, the habitat of that elephant worth, or that, whether it be, normally it's a herd of elephants, versus the encroachment of humans? They don't want to go into that. That's what Singer more or less. You can talk.
Well, are there any parties that are honest? The parties are not. Like the Labour Party is not honest. It's the, you know, I think of it being the least honest of them all. The Liberals are kind of honest in that they don't say much. They just want to help business, really. Yep. But they don't. But where they're dishonest is they don't help small business. They only help big business.
Yeah. But manifestos are subject to their interpretation, or the individual's interpretation who's hanging out, and it's easier for them to say, "I don't know." Mm-hmm. But what I do know is my self-interest. What I do know is what I'm here is I spoke to them. Your willpower, what are you here for? Will, brain or heart? They didn't even want to answer that on us. I'll give the Liberals that they were there on their hearts because they believe the Liberal government does better for Australia, even though they don't know how that Liberal government does better for Australia once they're in. They don't know how, but they just hope and they believe that they will. That's by doing that, the process repeats, and then you can get into insanity of it. The insanity of election after election doing the same thing, not knowing why you're there.
And these are the guys that are the enthusiastic ones.
They're the ones who are, when they win, they're there clapping and saying hip hip hooray, power to the Liberal Party, or power, go Labor. Like, why are you saying that? No, they don't know. If they don't know why they're there, their will, their heart, or their brain.
It is like why do you support a football team? Oh, well, my father supported, or...
Like a Forrest Gump lineage type thing.
You know.
Father of the father, or father was held the colours and
I know when I was at school, everyone, they were... The clubs that were winning had the most support.
Yeah.
The ones that weren't winning had less support. But there were no, where I lived, there were no English first division, whatever it's called now, in the whole of Wales. They had a second division team, Cardiff. But no one supported Cardiff. Oh, one guy did support Cardiff. That's like their second. I don't know. Maybe he supported. I can't remember. Only I ever remember one person saying he supported Cardiff. But everybody support Manchester United, Leeds United, Chelsea, Arsenal, that sort of thing. The big club. Why do they support them? Well, they're successful. They score goals. They get, hooray, somebody won the cup. It's on the news. Oh, that's good.
Maybe it's a moments type thing. Why do you go to this Socialism Sydney? Why do you go to the branch meeting? Maybe it's a thing where they come together, they have a moment where the Socialists have the Socialist International Liberal, where they all sing in one. Or in Labor they have an idea and that little branch meeting come in that one moment they're all together in their one mind. Yes, we believe in that. Where that goes, it could go nowhere, but they may be living for that moment of this is my idea, this is your idea, this is my opinion, your opinion. We're coming and we're agreeing, and I love that moment of where we agree. And I'm going to come back to get that moment again next meeting, and the meeting after that. Maybe it's as simple as that. But that doesn't change.
That's only still a tiny slither of the population.
Yeah.
The rest of the people don't want to know about politics at all. Well,
and I've met a lot of the people who have come from World War II, migrated World War II, Italy, France, Germany. You'd be surprised how many of them aren't on the electoral roll and aren't Australian citizens. I was shocked. I was amongst the group and I was talking the election, and they've said, well, we're not on the electoral, and do you know what else? We're not citizens. And we've been here for 60 plus years, and we just haven't got into it. We were in a group that wasn't, we've got to do
vote? Are they able to vote?
And they don't care.
Yeah, well,
because it's what they've experienced in their countries. They don't think Australia's that much different. The corruption and what have you.
Well, they're right. They're kind of right that there's no point to voting.
And that's when those who are forceful in their thing, who say, if we don't do this way, then we're going to get the French Revolution. If we don't do it my way, we're going to get the French Revolution. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that come on force, power. That's when the authoritarian, that's where you see your Hitlers and your Stalins and whatever, because the majority of the population is muted, disinterested.
When I was young, we had, there was a lot of union blaming, right?
Yeah.
Union. But I kind of thought, well, I thought this was people standing up for themselves. That's how I thought it was. But they've got
amongst a group of collective, as a collective in themselves, but as a collective.
As a collective.
Individuals
but
as
it
in a
seems
collective.
that has been that idea doesn't exist in anybody today. Doesn't seem to be like. I mean, when I first came to Australia, that idea existed.
What country did you come from?
Wales.
Wales in the UK. But that idea of the union would stand by their workers, it might have been just the building workers or the dock workers or something.
Solidarity.
But there was that idea. But now, I don't like. There must be some people, but it wasn't a mainstream. It's no longer a mainstream idea.
Yeah. No one got. Not many people work in the union anymore.
Look, the unions are just bad news now, totally.
And if Trump was here or any of his entourage was here, I don't think they believe in the future either.
And I believe the unions were corrupt then.
But
there was the idea that there was a...
There wasn't a WikiLeaks. There wasn't people exposing it as much as we know there is now.
No, I reckon the media says there's corruption. I don't believe there's corruption in the union. The media is helping. You're rich in the media, so
they don't do what... They don't stand up for the... Like my dad said, so this is my dad, right? He was approached, like he used to be a member of the National Farmers Union of Wales, or in Wales. And I think that was where he first found it out. He said that he suggested to the union that when the dock workers are on strike, the farmers should support them.
Yeah.
Because the farmers could hold the country to ransom at the same time if they did that, But the National Farmers Union said that's unpalatable. We don't want to do that. And I guess it's unpalatable because they would be supporting workers. They think they're conservative, you see, and the others think they're Labour.
Their constituents, the people who elected them to represent them, they then separate themselves and they're not really part of them anymore.
Yeah. So anyway, my dad tried it when he was in Australia. I've forgotten what they were. But, I don't know, some kind of organisation for the farmers, cattlemen's union or something like that.
No, because the farmers are mostly conservative. When they vote for the National Party, and they don't want to go with the Labour Party.
He's just
because I reckon they're already compartmentalised. Either they're already part of the National Party, or they're already part of the Farmers Federation here, or etc. etc. Somebody's already doing it on our behalf. We're already paying membership for somebody to do it.
It's always the National Party. It doesn't matter who it is. We're always supporting
the National Party supports the farmers.
But in reality, they've separated themselves from the people that they represent.
The Oxide workers,
and with Labour, I believe that they are now hedge funds. They're part of. They've got their superannuation hedge funds, and they sit on their boards, and they can't be part of them because now.
But they're not serious about standing up for the people that they represent. They're only so they're something else, and it's probably the same sort of thing. The fringe benefits. They get some fringe benefits from just standing in line year after year.
Being yes. But then next week I'm invited to another part. I'm inviting to a party, free alcohol, free food, etc., free entertainment. My head's there, and I'll just say yes today, but I'm there tomorrow. Perfect. It's the system that they want to maintain, and it's yeah. When you get to Australia, you don't realise that until you test it. And when you test it, then the police come in, or whatever authority comes in, or somebody says you can't, and then. And this is why I love this, because this takes a risk. And we know that the police don't want us here.
Yeah.
And they're just going to up and up and up it.
We are all Assange.